Listen up, you ignorant pigs. Put down your crack pipes and your beer bongs. It's time for HD's Night at the Movies. This night's offering from Beyond the Pit is Intruder, 1989. Directed by Scott Spiegel, written by Scott Spiegel, starring Elizabeth Cox, Dan Hicks, and David Byrnes. Intruder was written in 1987. It was originally called Night Crew. It was a short film, and it's one of those hidden gems of the 1980s slasher genre that you never got to see because of climaxing inside of the genre itself for slashers and MPAA fuckery. Let's check it out. Intruder is a movie about an overnight crew that is stalked and slashed by a mysterious maniac inside of a grocery store. And who is this maniac? You have a crazy ex-boyfriend played by David Byrnes, Craig, wanting his girlfriend played by Elizabeth Cox, Jennifer. He wants her to come back. And he gets a little violent. This results in a fist fight between him and half of the male staffers. I think the fist fight is a little over the top, but I think it's really cool how one guy just like beats up half a grocery store before they finally kick him out. And when they kick him out, there's this really good camera angle where you see Craig in the darkness and you see the other half of the staff in reflection. And the movie makes good use of camera angles and reflections during its whole run. So as Craig disappears into the darkness, you immediately think that he's the intruder. He's the killer. Case closed. We can all go home. There's no reason to stay anymore. Well, no. So they also set up the movie in a way that any one of the staffers of the grocery store, the Walnut Lake Market, could be this intruder slash killer. Because later, as Craig is peeking in on Jennifer going to the bathroom, which I think is a really good creepy boyfriend kind of thing to do. He's caught by Dan Hicks, or Bill, as he's peeking, and they have another fist fight out there, and they implicate him again as Craig gets the better of Bill with a hammer, winning the fight. But there's also a scene where Linda, the other cashier, is killed outside of the grocery store, and we have no idea who the killer is. We just know that it might be Craig at this point. As the night goes on, the crew are basically picked off one at a time, and you have a lot of Craig creeping on Jennifer shots where he just sort of like comes up from out of nowhere, watches her work for a second, and then disappears. You see him in an aisle, he's creeping on her there, and then he disappears again. And they use a lot of reflections and glimpses, and the cinematography in this movie is really good. You also have like weird camera angles where she's sweeping up the floor and you see what she's sweeping up, or she's scanning items on the checkout register and you see what she's scanning from the scanner's perspective. And I think that's kind of a good touch there. And if you pay attention to some of these glimpses, you can kind of piece together who the actual intruder is. I don't want to get too far into spoilers on this movie because you got to see this one for yourself, because not a lot of people have seen Intruder, and I want to hold back just a little bit during the run of this review. Now you can't talk about this movie without mentioning the cast. Renee Estevez, who played Molly in Sleepaway Camp 2, who's also the sister of Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. You have both Raimis, Sam and Ted, Scott Spiegel being a friend to both of them and helping out during the old Super 8 movie days of Sam Raimi. And he also played fake Shemp, the Deadite in Evil Dead. Someone's in my fruit cellar. I'll swallow your soul. Who could ever forget that? So it was his turn to kind of direct the movie this go around, and everybody just kind of pitched in on this one. And then you also have an appearance by Bruce Campbell. But this movie is a little bit more than that. It's also an example of what cinema can accomplish when all hands on deck making the movie are also having fun working and making this movie, you know. So as the crew members go the way of the dinosaur, you have Greg Nicotero and Robert Kurzman on makeup special effects, and they're ramping up the brutality in this one. Some of the kills in this movie are just flat out hilarious. You know, and not to mention Ted Raimi's character with his song that never seems to end. Do 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 do.
Okay. Trying to cut that right out of there. That's what I'm gonna do.
The way that they killed him was just even more hilarious. You have the drop of his headset after his head gets slashed open. It just falls off. What a nice touch. And they actually kept going with that joke, and I don't want to spoil that with you either. So some of the kills in this movie, though hilarious, they're also legendary. Post-DVD release, you would actually hear about the kills in this movie, though you'd never seen the movie for yourself. So you have to come to the hydraulic press kill scene. And then you have the bandsaw kill scene. Both of these killings would kind of get this movie written up, but upon reviewing the dailies for the bandsaw kill scene, because the Kurtzman and Nicotero made these lifelike gel heads for both of these killings, Spiegel's turned to everybody after watching the dailies and said, "My mom can never watch this movie," and the script supervisor, who was present during the filming of the bandsaw kills, started crying. You know, so you already have something special right there with those two kills. And then, you know, you have to give it to Kurtzman and Greg Nicotero because they were only given $700 for their work in this movie. And getting written up by the MPAA, those two kills put the movie into the X rating zone. So they had to butcher it up. It gets an R rating. It goes straight to VHS. Later there would be a director's cut. And then in 2011 you finally have the DVD release. But if you look at the cover art for the VHS itself, it also shows you who the intruder is, thus spoiling the film even further. And when they released the DVD, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were given top billing despite having very small roles. And Bruce doesn't even show up until the end, like the last 5 minutes of this movie. That's how much you get to see Bruce Campbell in this movie. But they did that hoping to boost sales so that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi fans would just buy it. Because 2011, you know, you're kind of at the peak of the comic book movie genre. Not to mention, you know, Sam Raimi's a big director now. So, and Bruce Campbell being a cult icon, they attached their names to it and sent it out. Now, I kind of have a problem with that because everybody creatively involved in this movie went on to bigger and better things. And I know that at some point you need to make money, but money isn't everything. You know, when your movie bombs as hard as Intruder did, the best thing that you can do after 30 years, or just let alone 20 years, the best thing that you could do is just let the movie lapse in the public domain. And I don't want to spoil the film any further than I have with some of the kills that I've already given you in this movie, but let's talk about the latter. Vincent Price is even more famous because 3 of the movies that he's done, House on Haunted Hill, The Bat, and The Last Man on Earth, are all movies inside of the public domain. George A. Romero's film, Night of the Living Dead, is also in the public domain. There's not a moment in time where these movies aren't in publication or on TV, because you can just show them and you don't have to pay any royalties. And being able to watch a movie with a horror host makes it a lot better. So, you know, I mean, that's the power of public domain. In 2021, Cassandra Peterson would retake up the role for Elvira, redoing and rehosting House on Haunted Hill to celebrate horror icon Vincent Price and her 40th year as Elvira. Lloyd Kaufman, on an episode of Joe Bob Briggs' The Last Drive-In, said, "The industry is way too consolidated." And what that means is, you know, you have so many IPs in the hands of like big companies that nothing new is going to get made. It's just going to get remade and repackaged. On top of that, you have several crappy digital media rights companies gobbling up the copyright to whatever IP they can get, redistributing, and then reselling, and then reposting to stream sites just to make a quick buck. And I mean, that's really where a lot of the industry is moving. It's just going into rehash mode. That's where DC and Marvel's going. Marvel is just basically going to be 9 lawyers in a room at a Disney office somewhere, lording power over IPs, suing artists for making characters or using characters that are in the public domain. They're going to call some dude up and be like, "Yeah, we noticed that your character Beowulf has superhuman strength." Well, the Hulk has superhuman strength. And because we've trademarked and copyrighted having superhuman strength as a superpower, we're going to have to sue you no less than 3 times. Make sure that you're good and bankrupt so that the only job you can have is drawing caricatures in your downtime at Six Flags. Whether or not that's going to be a fruitful endeavor remains to be seen, because we still don't even know if Six Flags is going to open back up after the next wave of COVID hits. So, I mean, you can get used to drawing masks on all your caricatures and then trying to sell your caricatures for people online on eBay, and that's about where we're going to put you financially when we're done with you. And because Intruder is cut from the same cloth that Night of the Living Dead is, I really think it would be a good movie to put in the public domain. There's really no money to be made on it. It's free on Amazon right now, and it's probably $8 at best on eBay. Probably $4. You can probably get it for $4 on eBay. So, you know, it's going to be a resold DVD. And there is something to be said for having the physical copy. But without further ado, let's get to those Slayer Pit totals. We have 9 dead bodies, 2 fist fights, 1 bop on the head, gratuitous Ted and Sam Raimi, 1 meat cleaver slash to the face, 3 dragon drops, receipt spike through the eye, slapping a bitch Sean Connery style, multiple stabbings, streaks of blood, 1 case of meat hook sodomy, 1 hammer smash face, 1 case of severed head beatdown, 1 case of demented aggression with a meat cleaver, 1 kill Terminator style with hydraulic press, 1 case of bandsaw decapitation. Slayer Pit Awards go to Greg Nicotero, Robert Kurzman for the best special effects makeup on gel heads that I've ever seen. Burr Steers as Bub. What's the matter? Anal itch got you down?
Tim, what a surprise. Tim, you look horrible. Anal itch got you down?
And Best Director Scott Spiegel and Best Actor Scott Spiegel for his portrayal of the Bread Man.
Help me! Someone!
HD gives it 4 stars. Check it out for the month of October. And this concludes the Monster Fest for the month of October. We're going to be getting into the regular scheduled hobby program. I'm going to be talking about Conquest, Last Argument of Kings. But until I see you again, keep watching horror movies, stay metal, my friends, and happy Halloween.
Even you, puppy dog. Hey, you need to grow a sack!